say a warm welcome to all of you. We're expecting about another 20 people. We are a minute after 10. Why don't we give it maybe 2 more minutes and Jeff, and then we can get started. But thank you all so much for joining us today. We deeply appreciate it. So give us another 2 minutes.
Very nice to see you
Thank
up
you.
and about in Percy.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, is that Martin?
Yes,
there
it
you
is.
are. How'd you like that meeting Wednesday night?
Sorry, which? The
That
meeting?
meeting
Oh, oh, yeah, it was fine. I thought it went on way too long.
I left early, so I was hoping if anything happened, you'd let me know.
Yeah, it was almost over 2 hours, I think, 2.5 hours. And that's kind of long for if this is a monthly meeting, that's a lot.
It's too long.
So, because we've been talking about the heat wave going around Washington, I have pulled up some dad jokes dealing with heat. Are you ready?
Okay, are they groaners?
Yep.
Oh, I don't know. I think so.
Say bad
Can I
jokes or
interrupt
dad jokes.
They're dad jokes.
Can I interrupt
Okay.
just a second?
Okay.
Yes.
I just wrote a message on the page for Alyssa. Herb Anderson is having trouble getting on. So I asked her if she could give him a call and help him get on. He's our treasurer. I don't know if she's on. I don't see her picture. So
I called him
She's-
and reminded him.
She
yeah, but he never
she
got
is
registered apparently.
she is on, and she'll send it to him right
Yeah.
now.
I'll
Okay.
email that.
Well, if you might need to call him because
Oh, okay.
he's not an email kind of person. You have to point to him on how to do it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
Thanks.
Good practice for him.
Yeah, definitely.
We're not going to be able to introduce everybody, are we?
Probably not.
Only if you want to be here until 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Yes, we've got just slightly more than 90 that are registered.
Wow.
So
Great.
Jeff, would you like it's 10:04. Would you like to get started? Do you want me to offer a couple of dad jokes and wait an extra minute or two? It's up to you.
How about a couple of dad jokes, and then maybe we can bring up the PowerPoint on if you can share screen and get that up there, or you or Derek or whoever's going to
It
project
uh,
that.
it actually is going to be me.
Okay.
So just give me a moment here, because I pulled up dad jokes.
Okay. Got to have our priorities, right?
That's right.
Hi,
That
Teresa.
that is true. I'm going to put this on hold for just a second.
I figured it would not interfere if I used my headphones. It wouldn't.
Hey, Mike, you've got a fire up there on the peninsula, don't you? No,
Well,
no,
anyway,
that's Oregon. Never mind. I got it
It's
mixed
going
up.
to be till they get through the 4.
Jefferson County in Oregon, not in Washington.
Yeah, it's in the training folder.
Mike, it's nice to see you up there.
Nice to see you too.
I really miss the in-person meetings.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. That's what I
Are you going to mute us all?
I see people being muted one by one, so I believe that's going to be the case. But if you can mute yourself, that would be helpful too. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. It's now 6 after. We've got, it looks like 81 people on the call, which is great. We've got about 10 more that could still be joining us. There are a few people that weren't able to make it today. They're going to watch the recording as soon as they can. So first thing I wanted to say is welcome to everybody to this Zoom call. This is truly an all hands on deck moment for RPEC. And I appreciate the fact that so many of you have made an effort to be here today. You're going to learn about a couple of problems that have happened recently, one not so recently, and having to do with finances and what we need to do to enforce or reinforce uh, our security measures. So I believe we need to do our indigenous land acknowledgement. Could we move forward a couple of slides? And
How do you turn on the sound? Turn up the sound.
Is it as high as mine?
can everybody hear me okay?
Would you like me to do the Indigenous land acknowledgement?
Yeah, please.
Jeff? Sure. We
Please.
acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the first people of the state of Washington, past and present. We honor them and their land, and we are grateful to them for this home.
Thanks, Lori. As you can see, if you have questions, we're going to take them at the end, but you can post them in chat as they arise. If you need to interrupt, please raise your hand by following the directions on screen. Click the reactions button, then click raise hand. I'm probably not going to notice that. I'm focusing on the presentation more than individual changes like that on the screen. So one of the others may interrupt me to let us know that there is something going on there. But we will have time at the end for questions. And while we're trying to keep this to 45 minutes, we're already getting almost a 10-minute late start. I'll speak for myself. I'm available after this is over to stay on if you have questions, but we want to respect your time and make sure we finish on time. Can I have the next slide? So the agenda, we're going to cover basic best practices and requirements of handling chapter finances. What we're going to go over is an abbreviated version of the AFSCME Financial Standards Code training that was presented in June. And today's session will serve as a refresher for that. In the past 2 years, we've had 2 breaches of chapter funds, and that accounted for tens of thousands of dollars. One of them was a failure to monitor bank funds and perform basic tasks of reconciling the account, which missed per capita funds never being deposited into the RPEC chapter account. They were mistakenly deposited into someone else's account at the bank for almost 2 years. The other incident was more recent, and it was due to a compromise of banking information from a check, including an officer's signature, that resulted in almost 20 fraudulent checks written against that chapter's bank account, effectively draining their bank account. And due to diligent work on our finance and operations specialist, Jane Hewitt, working in concert with the chapter officers and banking institutions, in both cases, those missing funds were returned. So let's move on to the next. If you've seen the agenda, let's move to the next one. The accounting best practices we're going to go over. Lori, did you want you or one of the others to cover the next couple slides?
Yes.
Okay, I'll defer to you then.
Derek, you're up.
Okay, good morning, everybody. To start off with, regarding checks, These are hard and fast rules regarding the use of checks from chapter banking accounts. Always ensure that every check written contains 2 signatures of authorized signatories. Never pre-sign checks. Should a pre-signed check ever get lost and used fraudulently, it is more difficult to dispute the fraud and retrieve the stolen funds. Keep all voided checks. Even though it's voided, the check still contains information that can be used to create fraudulent checks that can be that can obtain funds from your accounts. Never discard a voided check. Keep those with your records, please. Never write checks out to cash. Each expenditure from a chapter banking account must be accounted for with a verifiable purpose. It is a cash withdrawal, which is strictly prohibited by the ASME Financial Standards Code. And always reference the expenditure that you're making in the memo line of the check. This helps associate the check with the appropriate documentation for records keeping, and more importantly, the audit trail.
Good morning. Now it's my turn. All right. Accounting best practices accounts review. All bank accounts, including checking, savings, and CDs, should be reviewed weekly to verify current balances. If there is ever a case of fraudulent activity against your account, this will help you notice it a lot more sooner than later. And time is of the essence on things like that. If you notice any fraudulent activity, immediately contact your bank, freeze your account. One fraudulent check against your account could mean tens of fraudulent checks waiting to hit. In a recent case, 3 fraudulent checks wiped out the entire balance of one chapter's checking accounts. There were almost 20 more checks that tried to go through. Obviously, no monies, they didn't go through. Everything was returned for insufficient funds, even the checks that were real checks that we had actually issued. Set up transaction alerts on all accounts. This too will aid you in noticing any unusual activity in your account. Transaction alerts can typically be emailed or even texted to you. Much as we all hate the new formats of everybody being able to contact you, that's actually the best way to go. All accounts should be reconciled monthly. This should be done prior to preparing monthly financial reports for your chapter. Verify checks that have been written against the accounts have cleared and that no unusual activity has occurred. Verify the per capita deposits are being made correctly. We had a chapter that was not monitoring their bank account and did not realize for over 2 years that their per capita was not being deposited into their account due to a bank merger and changes to the account numbers, which nobody knew about and hadn't told us. Immediately report any fraudulent activity to, first of all, your banking institution, and they will freeze your account and begin a fraud investigation. Number 2, please report it to the council office ASAP, and I will be more than happy to help you work with your bank to help attempt to recover any missing funds. Next.
You're muted, Derek.
Yes, thank you. In regards to records keeping and maintenance, include meeting minutes that detail expenditure approvals with financial records. If your chapter executive board or membership votes on an expenditure, keep a copy of the meeting minutes reflecting that motion and the vote with the corresponding financial records, the canceled check, check stub, bank statement, etc. Never destroy records without making electronic copies. Paper records we know can take up space. Old records can be digitized and placed on a thumb drive. If you have old records taking up space and cannot digitize them or make them electronic yourself, let us know. We're happy to work with you. We can store paper records temporarily and work on getting them digitized for you. Do not throw away old financial records after they've been made electronic. or at any time. All old financial records should be shredded. Many local government agencies have shredding events for their communities. So that's an easy way to dispose of old records. And refer to the RPEC records maintenance and retention policy for a schedule of records retention, how long to keep specific types of records. That policy is in the Treasurer's Handbook that was presented at the leadership training in June, and it's also available on the website. Records security. Oh, I'm sorry, Jane. I'm going to hand that to you.
Oh, that's okay, Jane, aka Derek. All right,
It's Monday morning.
Not enough coffee. Physical checks, storage, and disposal. Please keep all checkbooks and checks secured. Never throw away any old checks, even if the account is no longer active. Always have old checks shredded. Designate the account signatories. Signatories, chapter officers, at least 2 of them should be assigned and recorded in meeting minutes. Keep minutes noting signatories with financial records. It's always best to have 3 signatories on the account, so as then if you can't get a hold of one, you can still get 2. Keep the records in a secure location at all times, and never ever leave financial records unsecured or unattended in public. Do not leave in an empty meeting room. Do not leave in the back seat of your car. If it can be seen, it can be used for fraud. All it takes is one person with a cell phone camera with one picture of an account number, and fraudsters can create those fake checks with your account and bank information. Reporting requirements and deadlines. Monthly financial reports should be prepared and presented as part of the meeting agenda to the chapter executive board and membership. Monthly financial reposts should always be included with the meeting minutes. Jeff, you're up.
Yep, just got to get unmuted again. Thank you. Annual operating budgets. Budgets are crucial to prove that the chapters are using funds correctly and in adherence with RPEC goals. Guidelines are guidelines are most importantly IRS rules to ensure our nonprofit status. Charitable giving policy has been laid out in no uncertain terms by the executive board to be followed after members' monies have been fully utilized for RPEC goals. Chapters should revise their expenses in accordance with these requirements and take any suggestions for revisions back to their e-board members. Regarding audits, remember that treasurers cannot audit themselves. We need to have preferably an audit team or committee. Some chapters will refer to them as trustees, but they cannot be signatories to the account. I believe it's also true that they cannot be elected officers to any standing office, either president, vice president, secretary, or treasurer. They should be completed annually, but preferably twice a year, every 6 months for RPEC. And utilize the trustee guide and trustee audit checklist. That it's not there to inhibit you, that's there to help. It's a guide for how to do an effective audit. And then include the checklist with the completed audit report, and they should be forwarded to the council office when they're complete.
Just a quick mention, that audit checklist that Jeff just referred to, that was part of the training that took place in June. It was in the treasurer's materials, as well as in the financial standards packet provided by AFSCME.
Thanks, Lori.
I was muted, sorry. Surety bonds, one of my faves. These are required every single year. And if chapters have got an issue or a challenge in completing the forms for these, just call me and someone here, if I'm not available, will also help walk you through it. We seem to have a big problem with the PDF fillable form that I sent out directly from AFSCME to all of the treasurers. They were the treasurers were overwriting the formula that was already on there in order to assist with this being less than 5 minutes to complete. As I said, any questions, challenges, call me. And I am the one who forwards it all to AFSCME, not the chapter.
So this is a list of tools and references that are available to you. They're all online. They're all available on the RPEC website. Some of these are links to AFSCME, but they're all there for your use. The Treasurer's Handbook contains all the practices and requirements covered today, along with additional useful information, including RPEC policies that affect chapters and finances. The Treasurer's Handbook serves as a single source guide to assist you in your duties as treasurer, trustee, or officer in relation to chapter finances. The other items shown are educational and are an excellent source for additional information. If you run into problems or have questions, a good rule of thumb is to first consult the Treasurer's Handbook. And if you can't find the answer there, contact the office and they can assist you with finding the answer to the question, whatever question you may have. Are there questions?
I would like to take one item off of the chat list right now. Betsy, you learned from the credit union that only one signature is looked at unless there are 2 lines on the checks for signature, and you can order the checks with 2 lines. This is actually standard for most financial institutions. Because of the way that they run their checks through the system, you're correct. They only look at one signature. But if you have set up your account to have 2 signatures on it, and they allow a check to go through with only one signature, I have a 99% chance of getting the money back. So even though they only look at one, it's up to us to make sure that there is 2 signatures on every single check and make sure there are 2 signatures on them when they have cleared.
So thank you, Jane. I thought maybe we could take some questions that are in chat. So there was a discussion about the materials that are being covered today, and yes, we will be sharing those with you so that you have a PDF copy of today's presentation. And as the team here has suggested a few times, you can also refer to the documents that are cited in the Treasurer's Handbook. By the way, you'll notice that in this PowerPoint, there were embedded links. And so when you receive the document from us, you can also go through the document and click on the links, and that will take you to the resources that have been cited. Okay, there was a question here. Do auditors need to be chapter members? This is one we have had in the past, and you'll see my response that typically chapters will select trustees who serve in that capacity to do the chapter audits. We also are aware that some chapters have had difficulty identifying trustees from within their memberships, and they've approached surrounding chapters to ask if they can help with their audits. It is not customary for chapters to use those who are not members to do an assessment of their books. I don't know if Derek or Jane would like to share anything there. I will say this, the council as a whole, we're required based on our size to do an external audit. So we actually pay for a CPA firm that specializes in doing nonprofit related audits. And that has been a standing practice for RPEC for a very, very long time. And those external audits are presented at the November board meeting. So Jane or Derek, do you want to comment on that question?
As Lori had said in her answer, we may need to clarify with ASME, but I do not see any issue with seeking assistance from another chapter. If there are PEC members, as long as it's recorded who they are and where they're from in the audit report, there should not be an issue. But they would need to also follow the same rules that they're not a signatory or an officer. So.
Thank you, Derek. Mm-hmm. Okay, Jane, I'm going to throw this one to you. So is there a template for monthly financial reports and budgets so that they are uniform?
Yes. I will be more than happy to send out another copy of the chapter budget. The chapter budgets template. It has complete line by line instructions with it. I don't think anybody's really had any problems completing it because of the instructions being as thorough as they are. And in turn, the actual chapter can utilize the same template per month, or we could come up with a different template for your monthly financial reporting. Most of the chapters have so little to actually report on a monthly basis. It's usually just 5 or 6 lines that they have to write out. So that one, Robin, I will be sending you a copy of the chapter budget as soon as we get done here.
And just to add to that, that template was crafted with input from chapters back in early 2024. So Jane can make that available, and I believe it's also in the trustees packet. The next question was, our trustees are selected, but are also our auditors. Is that acceptable? The short answer is yes.
Yeah, the trustees are that is their sole job, is to be the auditors. So.
So the next question is it true that RPEC has approved a budget with expenses exceeding revenues again? That isn't related to what we're talking about today, but the answer is yes. The organization's been running a structural deficit for about 3 or 4 years. Okay, next, is the fiscal year coincident with the calendar year? The answer is yes. So our fiscal year ends at the end of December each year and begins each January. Is the end of the calendar year the deadline for the final budget? If earlier, what is that date? Jane, will you go over those deadlines? And that has to do with requirements from our external auditor. Jane?
The chapter budget, I expect to have people's initial chapter budget no later than April. And 9 times out of 10, that budget gets approved by the chapter's EB usually by the end of the summer. So in answer to, is the end of the calendar year the deadline for the final budget? No. You should have had your budget for that year approved at least 4 or 5 months ahead of the end of the year. Because by the time you get to the end of the year, now you're looking at the following year's budget. Does that answer your question on that?
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions in chat. What other questions do you have for us today about the material that's been covered? So record security, tasks that should be undertaken with your financial institutions. Thank you, Debbie, for sharing that about that chapters can share trustees. And we know that some chapters are doing that now.
We seem to be making very good time on this. So while we can still take some more questions as we're waiting for those to come in, I'd like to share an anecdote briefly. I live in a age-limited 55 plus community. And about a month ago, one of my neighbors and I did a presentation on avoiding scams. And in a sense, that's relevant to what we're talking about here. As a chapter, you want to avoid being scammed out of money. Well, this one exercise my partner Ken came up with is to think about a light bulb. Think of a lamp in your house, maybe an overhead light fixture. How do you turn that light out? How many different ways can you come up with to turn that light out? You can throw the switch, that's the obvious one, but you could take a shotgun and blow it out. You could turn the power off to the whole house. You could burn the house down. You could blow it up with a bomb. There's probably 100 different ways, outrageous ways that you could do that. But you need to think like a hacker, think like a scammer. That's what they're trying to do to steal money from an organization like RPAC, whether it's get a hold of a blank check, signed or unsigned, or uh, get the banking information so they can attack it online. Uh, we are a target to scammers because we have resources that they want. So I'll leave it at that, but try to think that way. How would you go about stealing money from someone? That's what they're going to try to do to us.
Jeff, if I could share something, thank you for that. Someone put in chat that some chapters don't meet monthly. We're fully aware of that. Nevertheless, chapter leaders have fiscal responsibility for their chapters, and the best practices cited about checking financial records, reading financial statements, that needs to go on regardless of whether your chapter meets on a monthly basis, because you're entrusted with the fiscal responsibility for your chapter. So when your chapter does meet, that's the opportune time to share with them the financial reports that we've discussed today. So setting up the transaction alerts, that's individual. You'll have to contact your banking institution. You can, as I believe Jane may have covered this, I don't quite recall now, but whoever covered this earlier, it's different for different institutions. You can do that by email, you can do it by text. And so you can put fraud alerts on. You can put alerts on your accounts that put a threshold. So for example, any amount of money that's over, pick an amount, $50, that either goes in or out of an account that you're pinged each time that happens. And that's a great way to make sure that you're aware of any activity that happens on your account. So you'll have to reach out to your individual institutions and they can help you do that. There's a question about ordering the handbooks. Yes, and we can send that information back out along with the costs associated with that. Yep, that's a great comment, Gail, about making sure that you're not leaving financial records in a public place. And we also made sure we put that in today's presentation. Okay, I know the answer to this, and it's the question from Patty about debit cards and credit cards. We actually covered that in the Ask Me Financial training. I know the answer, but I'm going to have Jane give that answer. It's a two-letter answer.
It's no and yes. No, debit cards are not allowed. That is the equivalent of you taking money out of the account for cash. That is a big no-no, not in AFSCME. Cannot do it. However, you could have a credit card that is actually already assigned to the same account because you have to go ahead and monitor it all the time. And you would also have to have two people sign off on any of the expenses in it to approve it, and it would have to be paid in time. So I think that should answer your question on that.
And there was a comment in here from Paulette. Thank you, Paulette. Yes, and I think maybe Jeff had spoken to it. I have in previous meetings. The Attorney General's office, they do have a lot of outstanding information available, and they have also kind of like a speakers bureau. The Office of the Insurance Commissioner has that as well. And so there are many potential speakers that could address fraud. You might also have some local speakers in your community. We also have a recorded presentation that Derek did a few years ago, and we periodically re-promote that through our weekly news flash. So anyone who has an email on file with us, you receive a weekly electronic newsletter, basically every Friday, and we will periodically put a link to that um, webinar that was done about 2 years ago. And we're happy to send that out and that primarily deals with email fraud. It doesn't directly relate to what we're talking about today, but it is important to keep your personal email secure.
Lori, there's a question from Bill Ziegler.
I was just about to get to that. Go ahead.
Okay.
You can take it.
Oh, okay. Be glad to. Bill said, what is the vulnerability of keeping a lot of chapter dollars in a checking account? Well, great example of that is what just happened to the chapter whose account was drained. As I understand it, they had just days before this incident um, taken money out of the checking account and put it into a CD so that it was not available for withdrawal. And that saved their bacon. I was it $20,000, Jane?
About that, yes.
Yeah, so they put $20,000 into a CD from their checking account, and the next day somebody drained their checking account, or over the next couple of days.
Yep.
So that is a very important way to protect the money, is to just not have any more cash in the checking account than is really needed for day-to-day operations.
And as far as the CDs themselves go, you could have those on relatively short time frames. So then the money is still going to be there come next year when you're doing convention. You can withdraw it, stagger it just in time for convention.
And by the way, Jane is always happy to work with you if you are thinking about doing some kind of investment. She's provided counsel to chapters from the time her tenure started with us. So if you need help in that regard, please reach out to Jane. Okay, I think we've caught up with chat. Are there other questions? You can raise your hand. You can put more questions in chat.
I think I did see someone have their hand raised, and I didn't make note of who it was, and we didn't get to them right away. But if you do have a question, feel free to raise your hand now too.
I'm not sure I understand in that case, what are the IRS questions? I maybe the person who put that in chat, maybe they could embellish that.
Well, for start off, can I answer a portion of that?
For it.
Okay. The IRS has now changed their rules and regulations when it comes down to nonprofit regulations, and specifically with regards to charitable giving. And if we are not careful and do not stick exactly to staying within our Constitution and our rules that we've already put in place with regards to this, we could lose our nonprofit status. The charitable giving and they're trying to change things in such a way that we would have to pay business and occupation taxes on spending too much money on charitable giving or on scholarships, those kinds of things. We have to stick to what our goals are. Does that help? Dennis?
I'm not seeing.
Hello?
Claire's got his hand up.
Yep, Claire's got a hand raised. Claire?
There's a question in chat I think got skipped over. Person's asking, how do we set up transaction alerts on our PEC accounts?
I covered that a few minutes ago, Claire.
Oh,
That
sorry.
person, well, it's okay. Well, you're going to have to go to your individual financial institutions, and they will help you do that. If you're really savvy on navigating the financial institution's website, very often there's a way that you can do that if you go into the account settings, and it's probably under security. But when in doubt, just pop into your local institution and they'll be happy to help you.
And along that line, as long as we're talking about uh, transaction alerts, that implies we have online access. If you're setting up online access, always use two-factor authentication or what they sometimes call multi-factor authentication if you have that option. If you're setting up access to get to your bank accounts, whether it's through a credit union or a local bank, if they provide online access, they usually provide a secondary way of securing that account. And the way two-factor authentication works is when you log in with your user ID and you type in your password, and then it sends a code to your phone, a text message to your phone. You have to use that code, have to enter it on the next screen to be able to log in fully. And that protects someone else who may have figured out your password from using your credentials to log in and drain your account. So they just can't log in the first place. So that's just a real basic way to protect your account. And in fact, I'll add that if you have any personal accounts that you're using for your own checking account, you should be doing the same thing there. It's something that's overlooked frequently, and it's absolutely the best thing you can do if it's available. And if it's not, I would switch banks, to tell you the truth. I used to work in IT security for the state for a number of years, and that was one of the things we used everywhere. It was two-factor authentication or it wasn't secure. So, a word to the wise.
Yep, just one addition to what Jeff just mentioned. If for some reason you don't wish to have the special security code sent to your phone, then you can also put in a personal email address. Many people have more than one email address, so there's other ways to have a two-step authentication on your RPEC account and also on your personal accounts. So thank you for that
Yeah.
addition, Jeff. I'm going to see if there's anybody else.
Dennis has put in what he meant was there are IRS ramifications by setting up CDs. No, everybody, as far as the chapters are concerned, you're going to be fine with the CDs. My problem's going to come is if you actually end up with more than $50,000 a year. None of our chapters are actually going to end up with that amount of income per year. You're fine by doing the CDs right now.
Okay, we got a bunch of questions in, so I'm just going to take them. Can you review the fraudulent email situation that happened? It's not relevant to what we're talking about today. If we have time, we can talk about uh, what we think may have happened with that. Um, let's see, and that was on an email that was compromised by some of our members. Do you have any information about banks versus credit unions for our accounts? Um, I don't
That's
know.
an easy one.
Go ahead, Jane.
They're both covered by the equivalent of FDIC. You can use either one of them as far as an RPEC account goes. You can get either one of them to have two signatories. Personally, I prefer us going through credit unions, so then we make a little bit of extra money off of our per capitas. They're also easier to um, talk to and get better rates as far as the CDs go. So I think that should answer your question about the two.
Bill put in chat that if the savings account is linked to the checking account, that it could be vulnerable, and many individuals do that for automatic overdrafts. Um, I don't know, Jane, do you want to take that?
Yeah, we shouldn't have automatic overdrafts because of each chapter being as small as they are. But yes, Bill, you're quite correct. It could be vulnerable, but only if it's been set up for an automatic overdraft. Suggestions, you should never have an automatic overdraft on your account. If you do, everything you've got in there is going to be vulnerable. Debbie.
I was just going to mention my girlfriend's high up at a bank, and what she had, I actually got scammed once on my personal. I did get my money back, but what she did was I have my checking and savings and then a second savings because the robbers can get into your checking in the first saving, but they can't get into that third savings. So, um, just a FYI suggestion.
Did you have anything else to add there, Jane?
No.
Okay, I think you may have covered this. What I meant there, this is from Dennis, was about the IRS ramifications
Yep,
by setting up CDs, and you already covered that. There was a question about charitable giving. The details of the charitable giving are spelled out in the policy that was approved by the board in May, and we can send that back out to you. I don't have that at the ready. So the conditions under which charitable giving can be done by chapters is identified pretty clearly in that board approved policy. Okay.
Click open file in the top.
So I'm not seeing any other questions. Are there any other questions that are in chat? I'm not seeing any. I think we're nearly at time. Jeff, would you like to speak to what's on the screen?
Yes. Thanks. I've offered to have office hours this coming Friday. If any of you have questions, you want to speak informally, you just would like a different format where maybe there aren't so many people involved in it, it's a chance to ask questions that are related to this. Whatever the case may be, I would be happy to meet with you via Zoom this Friday. And I've set aside these two times in the morning from 10 to noon and in the afternoon from 2 to 4. I'm not going to say by appointment only, but that's kind of how it works out. I won't know you're out there unless you send me an email or give me a call. So just let me know before Friday that you'd like to meet sometime. Pick a time in either of those time slots. And I've got my own Zoom account, so I'll set up a Zoom meeting and I'll send you the information. I'll need to have your email address to send it to you. And then I'll get online. You can join me. And if need be, we'll include staff. If I don't have the answer for the question and we can get one from them, I'll let them know. But I would be happy to chat with you about any of these issues or anything related to this, anything related to finances that's not related to the topic at hand today. You name it, I'd be happy to talk to you about it this Friday. So let me know. And that's my email address there. That'll come to me directly.
And that link, again, will be, along with the other embedded links in this presentation, will be in the handout that you'll receive following today's presentation. Also, I think all of you know this in working with our team. If you have any questions about anything and all things financially related, Jane makes herself available and spends the time, explains things really thoroughly, is always available to help. And so you can always reach out to her by email, and we'll make sure that we include Jane's contact information as well if you don't have it at the ready. We're just a couple minutes over, and as Jeff said, we did start late to ensure that we had more people in attendance. We're still missing about 12 people who had RSVP'd, and we do know that there were some who had last minute conflicts or problems and could not attend. So thank you for being gracious and staying a couple extra minutes. Jeff, do you want to close us out?
Sure. I'm not sure there's much more to say. Let me see if there was anything in my notes. Actually, all I had left to say was thank you. Thank you for dropping everything and showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do on a day-to-day basis for your chapters. Everything we do, we're doing for RPEC. And, when we're together like this, we're all rowing in the same direction and it helps everybody in all the chapters. So thanks so much for everything. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you all. We'll turn around and we'll get you the information that you've requested via email. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Great meeting. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you
Stay
for that.
cool. Enjoy your day.
Beat the heat.
Debbie? Debbie?
Yes.